was filled like a cup with the stink of spilled blood and split bowels. Gary Coldwood, a copper to his fingertips, fixed me with an expectant glance. I shook my head. I knew what it was that he was expecting, and I wasn't up to it just yet. "Who found her?" I asked him.
"Bloke in the flat below," Gary said. "Nervous type, highly strung. The call-in was mainly him screaming for the best part of a minute before the switchboard operator could get the address out of him. We've got him downstairs now. The Basilisk is taking his statement."
The Basilisk. That would be Coldwood's sometime partner, sometime nemesis, Ruth Basquiat. Miss Blonde Ambition. Not the first person I'd have chosen to take a statement from a poor sod who was still traumatized from seeing his upstairs neighbor crucified against her own bedroom wall. "Anyone see anything?" I pursued. "Hear anything?" Gary breathed out loudly. It was almost a snort.
"Welcome to Brixton," he said. "Home of the three wise monkeys. See no evil, hear no evil, and I fought the law. Even the gent downstairs didn't pick up the phone until the blood started dripping through his ceiling."
"So who was she?" Gary consulted his notes. He knew I was stalling, but he also knew when to push and when it was best just to lead me to water and wait for me to drink. He was looking tired, his bristling unibrow wilting on his forehead like a caterpillar caught on a bare scrub. There was a downward set to his broad muscular frame, as though the local gravity where he was standing was 2 or 3 times Earth normal. I guessed it had already been a long night and wasn't likely to end any time soon.
"Ginny Paris," he said, reading aloud, "with 2 R's. She was a hooker who worked the back streets off Atlantic Road. Bit of a local landmark by all accounts. She didn't use nothing anymore. She was clean for 6 months now. She used to work for Red Paul, but since he went down she looks after herself, doesn't she? She's not stupid." That ringing endorsement brought to you courtesy of Pauline Exotic O'Malley, Miss Paris's former colleague, at her business address behind the Mercury cab rank on the Brixton Road.
He put the notebook back in his pocket, his somber face contrasting with the flippant tone of his summary. "It wasn't a man who did this," I said, stating the obvious.
"No," Gary agreed, "it wasn't. Not unless he put that thing through her with a siege catapult."
He was momentarily distracted by a uniformed constable who was about to move a table out of the way of a bunch of white-coated lab rats. The table was probably the source of the murder weapon because one of its legs had been broken off. It lay at an oblique angle, reminding me faintly of a dying horse in a Sam Peckinpah western.
"Oi!" Gary yelled at the plod. "Don't touch a bloody thing until it's been dusted and logged. Didn't your mum teach you anything, you pluky little gobshite?"
The constable blanched, mumbled an apology, and backed hurriedly out of Gary's line of sight, where he probably relieved his feelings with an obscene gesture or two.
"No," Gary said again, returning his attention to me. "The working hypothesis is a loup-garou, which is one reason why you're here, Castor. If whoever did this was undead, you can presumably tell us what size, brand, and flavor it was, and then you can toddle off home to bed, which is obviously where you've come from."
I put a hand up defensively to my stubbled chin. Okay, so I looked like I'd been rolled up wet and put away dry. But I wasn't on the force. I was just a civilian advisor, so Gary could go fuck himself. He couldn't exactly put me on a charge for letting the side down. Didn't have to be werekin, I mused aloud. Could be a geist or a zombie. Neither of those options sounded right, though. A poltergeist powerful enough to do something like this would have left the air saturated with its presence. Even the Thomases, exorcist hate-speak for rationalist skeptics, on the Met would feel like they were breathing cold shit soup. And most zombies are weaker than humans, not stronger. They can push themselves a little harder because their pain-pleasure wiring collapses after a while, along with the rest of their nervous system, but this was way outside the normal range of activity for a dead man walking. At that point, belatedly, I registered something else that Gary had said. "One reason why I'm here."